Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. That was a really good presentation of myself. But I would like to take everyone today. Here in Australia is evening, so sorry if my voice looks a little bit tired. But I would like to take everyone to somewhere really personal with me. As Cheryl mentioned, my mom was diagnosed with dementia when she was 52 years old, the official diagnosis. I was a cognitive therapist by that time. So I had the degree, I have the neuroscience book. I thought I knew everything. But when my mom was diagnosed with dementia, I was really in the night. How come someone in her 50s, someone very active with no health problems, no other problems, could develop dementia? Um, so when she looked at me and she could not recognize me, all the signs that I knew was fell in silence to me. I could not understand. In that day, when I have my mom's PET scan that say yes, she has dementia, I learned something really, really profound that love and science must walk hand in hand. Um, when my mom was diagnosed with dementia, I was a single mom with four children. My youngest was very young, 1 year old. I was living overseas. I was living in New Zealand. My mom was back in Brazil. So I defined myself a virtual caregiver because I could not be present physically to support her. But I was online. Thank God for the technology. It was my beginning of my career in aged care in New Zealand. So it was a lot of mix of feelings, a mix of guilt to not be next to my mother, a mix of I would like to understand what's going on with her brain. I went to talk with my friends, neuroscientists, neurological doctors. No one could give me the answer that I want to hear. The answer was, can someone cure my mother? And I was trying during years and years to find a solution to stop dementia, to slow down dementia. I was so involved on that I could not enjoy the time with my mother. It was always, I'd like to understand more her brain, and it was not the true connection. So I was missing that. While my mom was battling with dementia, as I mentioned, I was working aged care in New Zealand. So I have a high number of clients that they were living with dementia, but I didn't have the emotional connection in the beginning with them. I was their support worker, her caregiver. Then I become their specialist. But in the beginning, I was behind clinical eyes. I didn't have that true connection with my heart. And everything seemed so overwhelming, so exhausted that I didn't know what to do. I was just observing my father, looking after my mother with a lot of love, but with a lot of humor. And for the 15 years, he was looking after her. Of course, he was exhausting. Of course, he was sad, overwhelmed, but he didn't fall apart. Thank you, Lord, for that. And then I decided to start my journey. I start try understand a little bit more about the language of love, how we can apply the language of love when you are supporting someone living with dementia. And I discovered that when we support someone living with dementia, we have to go beyond the clinical eyes Yes, medicine is important, science is important, but love is more important than everything. If you can combine the two, that's a powerful tool when you are supporting someone living with dementia. Through my clients, thousands of clients that I have been supporting, observe my father by distance, support my mother. We were talking every day. I would support him, telling him, "Oh, I'm doing this with few clients. Let's try with mom like that." And it was always very, very natural because we were very close family. And I could see when the signs meet the heart, things getting really extraordinary because support living with dementia or support any human takes so much from us and go deep in our emotions. And it's hard because we're always frustrated. I think one of the main things about to be a caregiver is how to deal with the frustration that we want to complete the tasks. One example, we want someone that we're supporting to have a shower in that time because we have an agenda. And that person, she refused or he refused the shower. And then we deal with that situation, but after half hour, we have another situation to deal, and then we're going to deal with a lot of frustration during the day. So my goal was always, even as a professional, I feel frustrated sometimes that I plan a lot of things and nothing happened. So how I could heal my frustration, how I could support my mother and all the clients that I have been working together. And I understand that the language of love is so important because, like the brain, we have to stimulate our five senses to have the full capacity in your brain. And the language of love is always match each of our sense. So through my experience, through my education, how I support caregivers, private or informal, how to be at home or in our workplace, how actually we can support the person, but also support yourself to not feel overwhelmed or to not feel frustrated. Every reaction, every things that we do, even a silence, is a neurological reason behind it. If a person is anxious or refuse a shower or don't want to do something, it's not a bad behavior. It's the brain saying, listen, I'm not safe. This is what people doesn't understand when we are supporting another person. That person has a brain. I always like to tell the brain as a third person. So this brain, he's under a lot of stress, under so much stress. So it's not someone that easily can make decisions or easily can be an easygoing person. The brain is looking for, is in a survival mode. I call primitive brain. People living with dementia, that brain is so much under stress. Remember, it's trying to survive. So the cortisol, the hormones of stress, is very, very high level. If we force tasks, if you share our frustration with the person living with dementia, we are going to make this cortisol, this hormone in the brain, become high and high and high level. So I learned that through very, very small and simple tasks like touch the person very gently or smile or use a very calming tone of voice, that is the chemistry of the brain. That's making the chemistry of connection. That's so important to our nervous system. When we do things that we activate the oxytocin, the dopamine, the serotonin, the hormones that produce that feeling of well-being to the brain, is already proved by the scientists that we can lower our cortisol. So the brain won't be so much on fire all the time. So all the confront when we have someone refusing a shower, one example, is not because the person is stubborn or have, I hear a lot bad behavior. Oh, my mom, my father, my husband, they are so difficult. They have very strong personality. Actually, if we have to try understand the brain, not the person, when you understand how dementia affect the brain, you can find better response for that situation, and you don't overwhelm yourself. My mother, she lived with dementia for 15 years. So actually, on the medical perspective, it's a lot of years. I say for that, of course, her physically was for that, but also the way that we were supporting her with a lot of humor. We never take something very serious. I always share with people, let's pick up your battle. So time to time, the family comes to me and shares things like, I hate my husband. I want to kill my husband. Or I can't stand more with my mother. We fight all the time. And when I learn, I listen, I say, what's the complaint? Why you're so frustrated? It's so very, very, very small things, but I do understand as a caregiver perspective, each drop you feel the cup of water, and one day, guess what? That water is gonna split. But if we know that actually is not the person, is the brain reaction for that situation, you're going to feel that's okay. My mom is still there. My father is still there. The love is still there. One example that happened, I think 2 weeks ago, I have one of my clients with a very strong opinion, what he wants. He has severe dementia and he wants to keep drinking coffee before go home. He comes to my center, stay 6 hours, and then we drive him back home. So he has a cup of coffee, and then of course he forgot. He wants again. We have ones of the car, load of the clients just waiting for him. So each staff went there and tried, let's go, it's time to go home. He was refusing. But my staff was in the rush moment, you have to finish, you are finished your time to work, you have to drive all these clients. So the body language, the tone of voice, people living with dementia, they pick everything because the brain, remember, is in full alert because it's in a survival mode. So they call me because they say, "Oh, we don't know what to do. He keep asking coffee." And then I just stand in front of him. I just blink to him and I said his name, like let's say John. I blink, your card is ready. Are you ready? He blinked back to me. He stand up and he shake hands, say thank you so much for everything you do for me. And he was so happy. It was like 40 minutes, a battle between staff and him to stand up and go to the car, and a blink and a smile and a soft tone of voice, and my body language very calm because I was not in that situation, making him do go to the car happy without refuse. So This is what's the language of love. You have to identify how you can connect it with the person. And when I say language of love, I'm not saying nothing romantic, because this can be for paid caregiver. What's the language of love of your client? What things would connect you and him? Because the human interaction should be two things together, is two ways. Otherwise, even the paid caregiver is going to feel overwhelmed if she just give, because sometimes we know money is not everything. I get paid, but I don't have the joy. I don't feel happy in my job. So that relationship between caregiver and the person that you are supporting has to be a communication two ways. Through the language of love, I discover that that's possible. We have to pick it up our battles. The brain is something magic. We know dementia has no cure. We know that's a most cruel disease. We know everything bad about dementia. But I see dementia as well as an opportunity for we make new connections, children to reconnect with their parents, a wife and a husband to reconnect with their marriage. All the time someone say, I got enough, I cannot live more with my husband in dementia, I always tell them to reflect, why you marry him first instance? Because that man or that woman, they still there. Let's go find them. And it's a process that I support my clients. And until now, my mom passed away last year, so I'm still grieving. And I say that's okay to grieve. But my mother left to me a legacy. I could not physically support my mother, but I could support thousands of people during these 15 years working. And that's the rewarding to see people navigate through this dementia care journey with a smile in the face, picking up the battles. The other day, one family told me about someone put tea towels in the freezer, and she was so upset about that. And then I make a little bit fun. I say, well, how come in summertime you have frozen tea towels? That's good. And we laugh. So I would like to say thank you for everyone listening to me. And just keep in mind, the power of love is the most powerful therapy that the brain understands better than any medicine available. Thanks so much.